7239, or go see him
every Saturday
at 1911 King Edward Avenue, just across from the main plant. Jackson Catnapper, family owned and operated in Cleveland since 1933. 961-7239.
No dealers allowed.
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Check into cash.
Turn your car into cash at Check Into Cash.
Get an auto title loan today for up to $2,500.
At Check Into Cash, you get the most for your car, and we make it quick, easy, and confidential.
Stop in for an auto title loan today or a payday advance for up to $425. Call toll-free 877-262-CASH.
Title loan amount determined by value of car and ability to repay. Borrowers often use payday advances over a period of months, which can be expensive. Restrictions apply. See store for details.
If you need a little green, Lending Frog is making deals. He'll lend you cash on any kind of wheels. Borrow just a little, or you can borrow big. Lending Frog is a new financial gig. It's hip to hop into cash. LendingFrog.com is making a splash. Dig it, dig it. Dig it, dig it.
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Where'd the old town go? They moved it all north of here in a shopping mall.
Good morning and welcome to Old Town Cleveland here on WOOP FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www.woopfm.com. You can call us here at 614-5553. Debbie Moore, tell me what's going on today.
I'm always having to tell you what's going on. Good morning. It is October the 18th, 2014. We'd like to mention that last week we had on 99-year-old Claude Ogle on our show. And he sang and he recited big, long poems. And we wonder if our guest today is going to be able to do something like that.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah. And unfortunately, a big power blip went through, and we lost about 10 seconds of the power here at the studio, which also knocked out all the recorders. So we didn't get any of that recorded. Okay. So Claude's going to have to come back on his 100th birthday on around February 22nd. Yeah.
And be with us again. So we'll just go ahead and pencil that in. We'll have a big party for him here.
And the Apple Festival is going on up in downtown Cleveland. It's $5 to get in. They've got
$4 for seniors.
Yeah, so all kind of great things going on. Great fried pies up there from the apple orchard itself. Daddy's Barbecue's up there selling barbecue. And Master Gardeners are up there doing, they've got plants for sale, $1 a cup, that. And they also have soil kits, and if you have questions about your planting needs and lawn cares, those Master Gardeners can help you there. That's a program by the UT Agricultural Extension Agency here in Bradley County. So do all those things. I want to say, on a sad note, a good friend of ours, Benjamin Martin, passed away this just Thursday, and most of you probably know him by the name of Bearman, US 101. And Benjamin was just a good friend. I went out to Lake Tahoe one year and had a great time together out there.
He was pretty funny. He'd gotten on a flight that took off, and we were on the next flight going off. We traveled in a huge crowd, and all of us couldn't get on one flight. And apparently something happened on the plane, and the airbags or the mask fell down out of the ceiling, the whole thing, and they brought the plane back to the airport. He, we just said bye to him, and a few minutes later he comes walking back in, and he was so funny talking about that incident. And every time we'd see him from then on, he'd talk about it. He's from Alabama, and he taught me to say, "How's your mama and them?" When you're asking about people's family, how's your mama and them?
And he was tough when you played musical trivia with him.
Oh yeah,
he was
I
tough.
forgot about
He
that.
was
But
tough to
anyway,
beat.
we lost him to liver condition, and
been
we
fine about a year.
understand. We understand that he went to the hospital and they sent him home, and he unfortunately fell and never recovered from the fall. The fall actually got him. So, condolences to his family.
So
and
that's Benjamin Martin, like you say, and we
The
all
Bear
know him
Man.
as Bear Man. So
yes, we hate to see him gone.
yeah, and at
We
the-
have Ranger Erin Medley. It's easy for me to say here with us today, and
not
she's
just the ranger, she's the top ranger in charge.
That's right.
Yeah, but
The woman with the gun.
She says the proper title is park
Manager.
Manager, yes. So she is the.
But she's here today, and so she can answer any questions you might have about Red Clay, or if you have any really good stories about Red Clay before it was a park, or even after it became a park. We'd love to hear from you today. And I think that's all that's going on. Besides, the Convertibles are playing tonight at B&B Marina from 8:30 to 12:30 p.m. Go out and see Fro and his band. They'd love to see you.
Now, Erin is not only the park manager
There you
and a ranger, she's also a native of Cleveland, Tennessee. Tell us about your family before we get started, who they were.
My dad is Steve Medley. He owns Central Drugs over there by the post office. Still has the old soda fountain in it. You can go in and get hamburgers and French fries just like the old days. But I was born and raised here, went to Cleveland High School, class of 95, woohoo. And
How fortunate you are to be able to work in your hometown.
I love it. I love it. And, it's great because, I already have all the connections, with people just growing up here. And it's just, it makes my job a lot easier to have such support from the community, from the Chamber of Commerce. Melissa Woody's amazing. She does a lot for us. And I just, a lot of support from the community.
Now, did your dad grow up here?
Actually, he's from Pikeville. Yeah, his family's from Pikeville. My mom's family's from Chattanooga.
There you go.
So we're got some deep roots in this.
Well,
in this
How
area.
long has he owned Central Drugs?
Well, about 50 years probably.
Just 50
Wow.
years, yeah.
Yeah.
And what's Brenda's mom's name that works down there?
Miss Allen.
Oh, Lib Allen.
Lib.
Yeah.
She has worked there since she was 16 years old.
Oh,
And
my
she's
goodness.
well into her 80s now.
She
Yes.
started downtown then, I guess, didn't
Yes,
she?
she
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
Yes, she
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
did. Straight across from the courthouse there. And we have some great old pictures of the Central Drug down there. Now, did your dad actually work at the old one? He did.
He did.
For a
and
short time, I guess.
It was very short time, and then they moved it over to Key Street. He bought it from him, and what's funny is my dad's very first customer as a pharmacist was Colonel Korn. Colonel
Isn't that
James Korn.
funny?
Sure
Isn't that
was.
funny?
Sure was.
I love to see occasionally people will be cleaning out someone's house and they'll bring by medicine bottles that are the old, I've even seen handwritten labels, but, the old typed on the typewriter, stuck
Is
on the
that
bottle
Dr.
label.
Stickley who started Central Drugs? Is that his
He was
name?
there, and Dr. I won't say
There's
Jones.
two doctors.
but-
Dr. Stickley was one of them, I think. Yeah, okay.
Ron, I think your battery's running low. I
Probably
keep hearing
is
your phone.
over there. Well, I'll turn it off here in a minute.
So what did you do before you came to Red Clay? Were you assigned somewhere else?
Yes, I was a ranger at Booker T. Washington State Park for about 4.5 years before I
And what goes
transferred.
on down there?
Well, it's a recreation park. It's on Chickamauga Lake. We had a lot more, dealings with disorderly folks and things
That were partying at the park when they shouldn't have been. Yes.
Right, yeah, because
you
it is
got
on
to
the
shoot
lake.
more people down there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just tased them, Ron.
Yeah,
Just
there you
tased
go.
them. Well, and you find that that's true. Then you have some place like Cherokee National Forest that's so huge. People can do all kinds of things.
Oh, they sure can.
Undercover up there.
Well, it's illegal hunting and different fire. Now, you work for the state of Tennessee. Tell me what department actually the ranger works under.
It's the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation.
Okay.
So
who's the commissioner? Oh, you got to know that.
Martin, yeah.
Okay.
Martineau.
So, and what else? What other things do they cover under that?
they do a lot of the permits, the air, water quality, anything dealing with that kind of stuff. When there's the big spill that they had up in Knoxville or something. Yeah, they're kind of over that.
Residue
from TVA.
TVA, our Rome County. Our daughter.
Oh yeah, where the sludge came down the river.
There you go. Did you actually get to see that by chance?
No, ma'am.
It's unbelievable.
I had gone up in that area with our daughter who was applying for school at that time, and we had been there just a few days before that happened, and I couldn't imagine, when they would describe what all had been covered up. I could not imagine, the impact there. Now, that seems a little strange to me that you're under that same umbrella as the environmental.
Right.
I guess it's just in your case, you're preserving an area,
right?
So that's
we're
where
conserving its environment. It's constant, so it kind of.
So, what do you call the spring down there? Do you call it the Council Springs?
I call it the Blue Hole.
Blue Hole.
That's what I call it.
Okay. Well, my grandpa and I know that you knew my uncle Bill Clayton, but. My grandpa always called it the Council Springs and they live just about a mile below the spring there, but I guess that's just what the old people called it. But I'm sure they call it the Blue Hole too. Does it empty into Mill Creek?
It does, and then it flows into the Conasauga and Coosa rivers in Georgia.
Okay, now
that's the Conasauga.
Do you
Conasauga? My bad.
From here,
for the natives, that's what it is.
Conasauga. Yeah.
I imagine you get a lot of questions about the Blue Hole.
I do. The biggest question is, why is it blue? And first thing I tell them is I tell them that we put one of those little toilet things in there.
That's good.
Yeah, got to get them a laugh. But then actually it's the minerals that are in the water. When the light hits those minerals, it reflects that blue color in conjunction with the depth of the water. So the darker the blue, the deeper the water. Just like, when you look at the ocean, it looks blue. When you pick it up in your hand, obviously it's not because it's very shallow. So that's what gives it.
The water makeup, if you had it tested, what kind of water is it? Is it limestone water or
limestone.
Or what minerals are in the water? Is it healthy?
As a park ranger, I do not recommend that you drink the water. Now that I've said that, we still have locals, generations of people that come down and obviously can't get in the Blue Hole, but they get it by the jugfuls. I mean, and they're fine. I drink it. I was fine, but
my family always did that. My grandpa, we wouldn't let Grandpa have a baby and get out of his sight because he thought they needed to be dipped in the Blue Hole to make sure that they were good and healthy. So you didn't let Papa keep the babies, but he and my dad both were really big on, drinking out of the springs. Now, I do recall as a child it didn't have quite as much foliage in it. You got a little bit of growth around the edges now, but it may have been there and I just didn't notice it. It seemed to be just a tad bit deeper then. Do you think we've lost a little bit of the depth? I'm just taking inches.
You are absolutely right. We had a team of divers go in 2011 and do like a video, underwater video, the first one ever of the Blue Hole, and they kind of did a measurement of the depth, and it has gotten more shallow because just from silt debris falling into it, it's just not as deep as it was.
How big is the opening down in there?
It actually goes down into like a very small crack. It's hard to describe on the radio, but it just goes into a crack and you can't go back any further. If we had a teeny tiny, maybe like little fishy camera or something, it'd be nice with a remote control. It'd be nice to like kind of just see where it goes.
Are there fish in it?
Somebody dropped off a goldfish and we called him Fred. And he was there for a good 2-3 years, but he's not there anymore. There's minnows, but no bass or anything like that.
I recall
it. So, but down to that crack, how deep is it?
Apparently there's that rock ledge, and straight down from that is supposedly 14 feet.
Okay.
But like I said, the divers say that it's probably more like 11 feet now, just from all the silt and things. But
that's interesting. But it's still a beautiful place to, especially if you have visitors, to take your visitors to come see the park and come see the Blue Hole. And it's not as some places that you go, it's really hard for someone on a walker or something to get around. Well, you have a little path.
We do, a paved path.
And they may have to stand at the top and look at the Blue Hole, but it's still very accessible without taking away from the natural beauty of it all.
Right.
In recent years, you've had some of the cabins, the roofs replaced.
Yes,
now,
ma'am.
who did that work?
I don't know the name of the contractor, but
tell us about the concept.
Well, basically we used the cedar shake shingles, and took them all because they were pretty much rotten.
Well, they'd been on there for 30 years. Yeah.
Right, exactly. But I think that was probably the first time they'd ever been replaced that I know of. So, but yeah, they just replaced all that. And what's funny is we just had them replaced, and then they were filming that PBS, that We Shall Remain.
Yes.
And they actually had to put a solution on the roof to make it look more aged because it looked too new for because the other part was not changed, it was still the old stuff, so it looked, so they had to spray like a gray solution on it.
That's
so it would,
funny.
Right.
So in the in that filming, how was that for an experience?
I was so honored to be a part of that. I actually got to meet Wes Studi, which was awesome. He is Cherokee, and he plays Native Americans in a lot of, like, Last of the Mohicans and some other. But if you actually, in that movie, if you hear him talking, he is speaking Cherokee. So it's really
we saw
it's an honor to meet him.
Some kind of show that was showing where they had made that. And someone in there that spoke Cherokee was not Cherokee. And he had gone through such great lengths to go and talk to native speakers, to hear the cadence, to hear the pronunciations, and he wanted to get it right.
Absolutely.
He said there was no getting that wrong. He had to get it right. And it sounds beautiful on screen.
Yeah, that there was a whole series there, and it was pretty good, yeah.
So did you have a lot of onlookers coming and watching the filming, or just a few?
Just a few. But what was neat is they actually built a partial, like the corner of a stockade, to film that at Red Clay. We still have the posts over there. That was really neat to get to see that. But we actually didn't have a lot of folks there. I don't think they advertised because they didn't want
I did see a few pictures of how they were bringing about the lighting and all that, and I thought that was really interesting. But I'm glad that they chose the part. Now, what part was actually filmed there?
It's hard to say because I haven't seen it in a few
understand.
years, but it just whatever part they're in the stockade when it's raining. Actually, Dewey Woody used to be our fire chief around here. Yeah. He made it rain for him. So
he did the rain dance.
He did the rain. He sure did. And they filmed some. So any of the council house scenes, I think that are in there were filmed there. Some of it was filmed down at New Echota. Some of I think the signing of the Treaty of New Echota.
Yeah, they have the official looking buildings now. I mean,
sure
like
what
public
about the
buildings.
John Ross family? They showed parts where his dad was running a little store, thing. Was that filmed at, where was that filmed at? Do you know?
I don't know.
And then they had
not at Red Clay.
They had the young Cherokee boys playing stick ball. Was that at Red Clay?
I can't remember, honestly.
It's her advanced age, Ron.
Yeah.
But that's, I mean, when you're in the midst of it, sometimes you don't, and Ron and I've witnessed, as we did this week, witnessed people filming stuff. And you really, if you're not in the middle of it and knowing what's going on, you don't know what it is when you're seeing it.
Right.
But I thought We Shall Remain was very good.
It was.
And it kind of told the other side of the Walker and Wadey families that kind of told their story, or the Ridges, why they signed that document. And they knew that it was a death sentence to do so.
Yes.
Or that people would try to do what some managed to do. Okay.
Go ahead. I want to talk about the park. Like I say, it's a jewel here in Bradley County that a lot of time many of us Bradley Countyans overlook. We're all guilty of that. So how big is the park? 284?
260, 270 acres.
And the state bought that. Mr. Corn actually bought that property,
right,
and held on to it so that the state
Aaron
could buy
was telling
from
me
it.
earlier, Ron, it wasn't the whole piece of property. Yeah. How many acres was he able to purchase here?
He bought 150 that I know of, and it's the main part where the blue hole is and everything. The other parts, because I have the deed and everything right here in front of me, and the map that we have now
don't
looks
rely
a little,
on facts here, Aaron.
Okay. Well, but from what I can tell from this documentation, it was 150 acres that he bought, which was, definitely included the Blue Hole. And the state probably purchased some other little tracts to make it the 260, 270 acres.
So he, along with Mrs. Rice from Whitfield County, my grandpa was right in there in the midst of that, along with his cousin Mark Clayton. They just all had this dream that this place should be recognized. And there was long before you can remember or was even here, Aaron, there was quite the battle over where were the council grounds.
Right.
Because many people in Georgia thought it was in the edge of Georgia, and there was no doubt that it was actually in Tennessee because they couldn't hold councils in Georgia anymore.
Exactly, right.
But there was some kind of structure there. Even when my mom, that's 85, she was a little girl there in Red Clay. She said she remembers seeing the structures, and she had heard the stories about the council grounds being held there, but they could possibly have been held there prior to that time. I don't know. But anyway, they had envisioned even more than what's there now. They thought that it would draw in enough people for, hotels and that kind of stuff, which I'd really like to see a little bit of that going on down there. Aaron and I were talking off the air before, we signed on, that wonderful things are happening in this area historically. Up in Charleston, we got the National Park Service coming in there that's going to help mark some very historic things. And tomorrow at 3 o'clock, the Historical Society will have Annette Finger-Smith, and she will she's going to be talking about the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians, and that will be at 3 p.m., and I assume it's at the Hiwassee Center because there's nothing else said here on their website. But they're getting some national recognition for the encampments that were up there during the removal. You guys have the council grounds story at Red Clay State Park. We've got Blythe's Ferry over in the edge of Meigs County, was where
another encampment.
17,000 people camped there during the winter of 38 and then crossed the river there and went on out west. There's a big story there, a lot of good things to see there. And then we're getting Moccasin Bend. The National Park Service has bought a portion. I wish they could buy all of Moccasin Bend, a portion of Moccasin Bend, where there'll be an interpretation center someday that will not only tell the Indian story, but they'll also be telling the Cherokee story and the peoples before the Cherokee. We often talk about Cherokees, but they were here a short period of time compared to what the other ones were. So we have great historic things going on here in the community. But people like Colonel Corn, and he stepped up, paid $12,000 for this 150 acres, and started the ball rolling.
Yes, it's a beautiful piece of property down in sort of some flat land and some rolls up into the hills and all that. And so now, how much of the park do you actually have activities on? Or, do you have hiking trails through all of it, or what?
Well, you have the main section. I don't know exact acreage, but we pretty much use most of the park because we have a 1.7 mile hiking trail. There's one field on the south end where the barn is down there that's closest to the Georgia line, or butts up to the Georgia line. We don't use that for much. But other than that, the park pretty much gets used. There's a few forested areas that we don't, but for the most part, we use it all.
Have your pine trees recovered enough that you can let people in the areas?
Yes, ma'am, they sure have. Yeah.
I know at some point in time I'd go down there with signs, don't go, because of the beetles situation.
The pine beetle. That was right before I came to Red Clay.
Okay.
So, but yeah, you can access all the areas of the park.
How much staff do you have?
Well, it's I'm the park manager. I have a park ranger. We have a secretary and 2 maintenance men.
And who's your secretary?
Her name is LaSayla Webb. She is a Cleveland native as well. She went to Cleveland High School, and she's only been working with us for a couple of years now. She's still very new, and I'm very new as a manager, so we're learning together.
Well, there you go. Now, I've had other managers and rangers invite me to come down and kind of dig through the filing cabinets. I think a lot of the archives have not been preserved. They're there, but perhaps they haven't been organized and certainly haven't been scanned. Are there very many pictures or things down there that y'all haven't?
We do, and if you're interested in coming down and helping us with that would be fantastic.
Well, and seriously, that would be something good for some area historians to do. someone that's retired that knows how to scan things and
Yeah.
document things, because it needs to be done.
Yeah,
It needs to
I'm
be
not
done.
an expert in that area. I don't know how. I mean, I know how to scan things and do that, but to like catalog it and
Yes.
make it easily accessible, I don't know how to do that. So if anybody out there listening knows how to do it and wants to help Red Clay,
And
that's
how
a
the
great
pictures
project.
and documents are stored are important too.
Right.
Aaron, do you know if there was any, I guess, 8mm movies made around the time that the park opened?
I don't know about 8mm. I know we have some old VHS tapes that we have. We probably do have some. Again, it's sitting up there in our video room.
Well,
And
right now I have a 8mm projector and a 16mm projector at my disposal.
oh,
So you need to look and see what you have.
yes,
and
ma'am.
I
will.
I don't claim that it'd be expertly done, but it will be done, be transferred.
Oh,
You're listening to Old Town Cleveland here on Whoop FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www.whoop.fm. We got the park manager of Red Clay State Historical Park, and I'm going to ask you that question in a minute.
All right.
The park manager here, Aaron Medley, and you can call us here at 614-5553. The phones are now open, so give us a call, 614-5553.
If we have Bob Gill listening this morning, we have a couple of tickets that Bullet brought by for use, and I
Okay.
have a card that Red left you.
Yes. Why is it called Historic Park? It's got a classification, Red Clay State Historic Park. Okay.
That's
And now how's that different than a state park, or is there a difference?
Well, there is, but there isn't. I mean, we're all state parks, but it's just a way to kind of set it apart from just like Booker T, that's recreation based. It has a story, but really you focus on the environmental side of things. There's not, you could talk about Booker T. Washington if you wanted to go the history route, but that's not really what it focuses on. Red Clay is all about the history, so that's why they want to set it apart with the historic in the title.
Right, okay. And when it first started, it was just called Red Clay State Park, and I think they add historic onto it later on.
Yeah, I think it was Red Clay State Archaeological Park. Yeah,
we
the
knew it
old
had
sign.
an archaeological in there somewhere, because last night we were looking for that. What other state parks are in this area?
We have Harrison Bay.
Oh, I love Harrison Bay.
I do too. I was a seasonal there for 3 summers. Booker T, they're within like 6 miles of each other. Then we have Hiwassee Ocoee, and those are
Hiwassee Ocoee. Where's that?
Hiwassee is in Delano.
Okay.
Part of their park is on the Hiwassee River. The other part that they manage is on the Ocoee River. So there's a lot of people that manage that area, though.
Is that
TVA.
G Creek, or is
G
it?
Creek,
Okay,
exactly.
G Creek, I recognize that
Yeah.
name.
Yeah.
That's where the fort was moved.
Yes,
Fort Mar.
That's
They did a good job.
And
saving
that's another one of those pieces of history that, thank goodness, someone saved it, but it's kind of like we didn't know what to do with it.
Right.
It was moved to the high school, and then it was moved to the elementary school, and then it was moved to Polk County Jail. And then it had just gotten in some state of, it needed to be taken care of, and the state took it over, which I'm glad. It did make me feel kind of funny when it was moved. I
Right.
hated to see it moved from downtown, but it was either the county needed to fix it or they needed to let the state take charge of it. And I feel like it's safer where it's at now.
It is. It's
And I think the same guy that shingled your cabins.
probably so.
Let me ask you, I know that, how long have you been doing this now?
12 years.
12 years. Tell our listeners out there, if they want to become a park ranger for the state of Tennessee, what is the requirements, and
Okay.
what do you have to do? What do you need to study in college, or what do you need to do to get to this level?
Okay, well, to be a Tennessee State Park Ranger, there's rangers for the county, cities, but to be a Tennessee State Park Ranger, you have to have a 4-year degree of some kind. History would be a great one, especially for a historic park. Any kind of science, environmental, biology. My degree is, I have a Bachelor of Science in Parks and Recreation. The actual title is Leisure Studies, if you can
Yeah,
believe
okay.
that. But it's
You
basically
thought that was going to be easy. What it was, yeah.
It sounded easy.
Yeah, it sounded easy, but
Yeah, right. And so you have to have a 4-year degree. While you're in college, a good way to get your foot in the door is to work as in one of our seasonal interpretive ranger positions. It's a paid job over the summer. You work in a state park. You do programs. You take kids on hikes. You teach them about nature or whatever the park story is. You talk to them about that. And that's a great way to get. That's what I did. I did it for 3 summers at Harrison Bay. Led hikes, played games. Held ping pong tournaments and did all that kind of, because it's a recreation park and that's what you do. At Red Clay, you do blowgun demonstrations, you do things like that. But anyway, so you work as a seasonal interpretive ranger, and then once you graduate, you get hired on, and then you go through the police academy up in Nashville, the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training.
How tough was that?
It was the worst part was just being there because you couldn't leave, and the food was horrible.
Is that a 16-20 week course?
It was when I went. It was 8 weeks.
8
now
weeks.
it's 10 weeks, I
Yeah.
believe.
Wow.
But I'm telling you, the food. It was the worst food ever, and I'm a big girl. I like to eat. Okay.
You're not bashful about eating.
No,
Nash.
I'm not. No, I'm not. And I'll eat anything, but
Somewhat some physical requirements though to get through the police academy too,
yes,
though, right?
yes, sir. You absolutely have to be in shape to do that because you have to do the obstacle course. Running, carrying, dragging a dummy and hopping over fences and doing all that kind of stuff. And but yeah, it's very physically demanding. And then you have to be a good driver. You have to go through the driving course and pass that. And then of course the firearms, you have to go through that. And then the legal side of it, you got to pass all the laws and learn all that. And
So now, are you? Would that certify you to do something outside the park?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We've had some rangers go on to be state troopers. We've had them, work local PD places, and then we've had some go on to the National Park Service. But if you go on to the National Park Service, you still have to go through their police academy as well.
Right.
Oh, in addition to. I know that Ron and I were over at Vicksburg not last week, but the week before, and we were talking to a gentleman there at the Visitor Center who was wanting to be. You can go to Vicksburg Battlefield, and you can hire an interpreter that rides in your car with you. What was it, $40 for the hour or 2 hours, whatever it was, and they tell you all the tidbits.
Oh, wow.
And see, to me, we didn't do it, but we just because we were on a time restraint. But he was talking about what you had to go through to be that guide. You have to pass big history classes and stuff. And I thought, well, you really need to know your history.
Right.
But he was talking about, that was something as a retired person that he was considering doing. So I thought that
great.
sounded really interesting to me. Now, for someone that may not know, tell us where Red Clay State Park is.
It is in the southwest corner of Bradley County. Right down there off of Dalton Pike, you could turn onto, I think it's Weatherly Switch or 317 and follow signs from there.
I didn't know the numbers of any of the roads. I just know
Weatherly Switch. Right.
Right.
There was actually a switch there on the train tracks.
Well, you go down to Weatherly Switch and then you turn on Blue Springs Road at the corner of at Mount Carmel Baptist Church. And you take a left and just follow the signs down to Red Clay State Park.
There are signs. And matter of fact, I was so pleased when they replaced the sign up on APD 40 by McDonald's.
Did they finally?
They did. In the
Thank
last
goodness.
few months. And it was so faded out, and bless its heart, it had been hit by trucks and all kinds of things. And it had been there since the park was established. And the state came through last, I guess probably 6 months ago or something. And I noticed that they had replaced a couple of different signs. And I thought, well, good, they finally replaced our park signs.
Nice.
There are signs, even if you're coming from Chattanooga, that brings you in over the hills and through the woods kind of place to get to Red Clay.
But there is a key sign, and I've talked to TDOT about this, and I hope they're listening, so they'll get us a sign where when you're coming 317, like from Collegedale, there when you get to the Blue Springs Road right there, that 4-way, there is not a sign to tell you to turn right at that point, and there really needs to be because people go right through it and they hit 60, and then they're like, well, where's the park? I don't know which way to go. There's a key sign right there that really needs to be put.
Well, you just kind of have to keep after them.
Well, I know.
Yeah, I bet you do know. The state does not move quickly.
No, it does not.
And another thing that was added to, the things to at least drive by in this area is the Martin House was marked this year down on Dalton Pike, and
sure was,
I was real pleased to see that.
Got a call here. Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Morning, Ron.
Hey.
It's Neil. I'm enjoying the show as usual. It's a very interesting topic. I've not been down to Red Clay in years and years.
You need to go, Neil, especially this time of year when it's cool and you can walk around and look at the cabins and stuff. And a lot of them have been, furnished and stuff now, and you can see how they actually live.
If you had a car show down there, Neil would already been there.
No car shows at Red Clay.
No, I would enjoy the other stuff too. Comment on last week's show too. I didn't call in. I listened, but that man is a treasure. I could listen to him, I believe, once a month.
Well, we were so disappointed because we both looked and it said we were still recording.
Yeah.
And it just didn't record, and we were so disappointed because what a treasure.
And I'm about 99.9% sure that I had your guest in school as a student.
You probably did. This is Mr. Neil Allen from Cleveland High School.
Mr. Allen.
And did shop classes.
Yes, I sure did. Yes,
See,
Mr.
you taught
Allen.
her everything she knew. You taught her how to shoot that gun and jump those fences and carry those bodies.
I believe that I had absolutely no idea, that she's where she's at doing what she's doing. I mean, you can't keep up with 3,000 students you had over the years.
Right.
But I believe the kid did well.
I think she did good.
Thank you.
And I think she's probably just where she belongs because you can just tell by talking to her.
I love my job. I love my job.
Very interesting job.
Well,
Yes, sir.
Neil, you need to go down and see her at the park. She'd be glad to see you.
Please.
Get down there. Like I say, I've not been down there in decades. I've not been down there since they really jazzed it up, for lack of a better way of putting it.
That's right. And I think she's got a big activity coming up here that she's going to tell us about in a few minutes. That will be
ma'am.
something you'll want to hear about, I'm sure.
All right, enjoying the show.
Thanks, Neil.
Good to hear from you.
Are you listening
Neil
to? Go ahead.
helped us when we did our documentary on It's a Dirt Track Life. He didn't let me talk about Fords while I was showing pictures of Chevrolets.
You're listening to Old Town Cleveland here on Whoop FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www.whoopfm.com. You can call us here at 614-5553. We're talking to the park ranger of Red Clay State
Park
Historical
manager.
Park. What do I call her?
Ranger, it's interchangeable.
She is a ranger, but she is the head ranger.
That's right.
The chief. She's over it all. Then chief might not be a good word to use in this case. Well, it might be the right thing to use. What is the one craziest question that people ask you all the time about Red Clay State Park and Cherokee Indians?
Oh goodness, put me on the spot there.
I would imagine
That's my job.
You get to hear a lot of family histories.
I do. The biggest thing I hear, not so much a question, but the story I hear is my great grandmother was a Cherokee princess.
Yes,
warrior princess.
And just to educate folks, there were no Cherokee princesses.
Thank you.
And that's the one I get the most. I have to say.
Yeah. We'll come back there in just a minute. Good morning, live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a gorgeous day outside.
It's a gorgeous day every day, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm telling you, it'd be even better if you had a sausage biscuit.
That's right. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing good. How are y'all doing?
Jeff brought me frog legs last week, and I did try some.
She hopped right into it.
I'm starving. I've not had breakfast. So that would be
You
great.
heard that, Jeff, didn't you?
Ron,
Yes.
you did not take Miss Debbie to breakfast this morning?
We did, yes, but that was Erin here, the ranger. She's the one that's hungry.
Well, we're going to hold up on a sausage biscuit for you next week.
Why is that?
Oh, because you didn't feed Miss Debbie breakfast.
No, he fed me.
I fed
that
it.
was Aaron.
I didn't feed Erin this morning.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I fed Debbie. She likes
Jeff works over here at the Oasis, and about the time he starts his car, Jeff starts Ron's biscuit. So when he walks in, it just gets carried to the counter. He don't even have to say anything.
That's
Jeff,
awesome.
Jeff and Deb runs the O Cafe and the Oasis convenience store. They're right as you enter historical downtown Cleveland.
Okay.
Right in that section there. If you go in the front door, turn to the left, and they got some good food in there. Oh my goodness! I have a sausage biscuit there every morning. That's my guilty pleasure of the day. And then he has a lot of other things I try not to eat because they're so good. They're so good.
Hey, Ron, we're not going to talk about fish sandwiches or the hash brown logs.
Oh, those hash brown logs
Y'all are
are.
killing me
Oh,
here.
they are
You're
so
starting people.
good.
Well, and they have fried pickles too.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about the chocolate chip cookies. Neither are we, Miss Debbie.
Oh my goodness, my mom, Jeff, my mom really liked the chocolate chip cookies.
Well, she'd love the 2 dozen we fixed this morning.
Oh my, yeah, we took her cookies and the ham and everything else we gave her. It sort of sit there and she ate chocolate chip cookies.
She knows which side to eat first.
That's right.
Eat dessert first and then forget about dinner.
Jeff, tell us what time you're open over there.
Yeah, Monday through Friday we open at 6 a.m. Monday and through Wednesday we close at 2, 3 o'clock, depending on business. And then Thursdays and Fridays we're open until 6. And Saturday mornings we're open from 7 to 11.
7 to 11. All right, Jeff. Well, it's always good talking to you. And now you know where I'll be Monday morning about 7 o'clock.
We can always set our clocks by you, brother.
That's right. Hey, we'll see you later, Jeff.
Y'all have a good week.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I like to talk to people about food. I try, of course, in my older age, I'm trying not to eat as much, and some days that works, and some days that doesn't, and everything. So, the Cherokee Princess things. If you are around any of the Cherokee, people and everything like that, they're sort of funny and to tell people is that there is no royalty in there, and the chief was, I call him more like a mayor. Maybe they were the head of a reservation, which might be a 640 acre square, and that was their piece of property, and they were called the chief. So no one had actually maybe even ever appointed them, but they were just called chief.
They were just the leaders in the community.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and the Europeans thought since that was the chief, then their daughter must be the princess,
Yes.
because they go on how England was, the royal, like you were saying, the royalty. So
We got tickled. We had the lady, her name was Lisa Marie Presley, something. From
I think that's somebody else in Lisa Marie Presley.
Well, her married last name was something else, but she was from the Lost Sea, and she said people will come in there and go, "This was so hard to find. You should move it closer to the highway."
Really?
Yeah, Red Clay Bean. If you ride up on the interstate, there'd be a lot more people come in.
There sure
Yeah,
would.
yeah.
And we'll just pick it up and just move it over there, right?
So but
I figured you'd heard a few of those comments.
Yes.
And unfortunately, in our society, that it used to be is that an Indian was someone that had on a loincloth and lived in a teepee and shot at cowboys.
Right.
And weren't very good at shooting at cowboys because they always lost. But the Cherokee Indian were a lot different than that. I mean, they actually sort of adopted the European style of dress. And,
they sure did.
And so, John Ross
Well,
dressed
it's like
a
any
businessman that we'd think is a businessman
Any
at the
other
time.
society, you had poor people that may have been living a little bit backward than the other people, and then you had middle class people, and you had upper class people. Some of the mixed breeds, those were really the the leaders, the ridges, and
mixed breed is not a bad term.
No,
in there. That just means that they were part Cherokee, maybe part white. Or something.
Matter of fact, John Ross was 1/8 or something Cherokee. I mean, it was a real small.
His
percentage.
dad was a Scottishman, I believe,
and his mom was, not full blood. There are very few full bloods. I'm told that up in the community, it's not Snow Hill. Snowbird. There you go. I had one of the words right. There are a few people up there that still consider themselves full bloods, and pretty close to it as far back as they can trace.
Right.
But most people are mixed breed. But I get so tickled at anytime we have a Trail of Tears meeting, and there's obviously people there that are Cherokee. People will come up to him and start. And one guy said, "Everybody in the South, Grandma was a full-blooded Cherokee, even the Asian people." I got so tickled. He said, "It's just real, interesting to them."
If your family's early settlers into the community, there's probably a good chance that you probably are related, because if you came in here, some mountain man came in here and got some property, you didn't bring a woman with you. Basically, it was Cherokee women.
You had to find the women nearby.
And when there were men and women, there were going to be some hookups somewhere along the way.
Absolutely.
Well, and I've had so many people in recent years, the DNA stuff that's being done to prove your ancestry It's really pretty phenomenal stuff. And there's basically, they can trace the Cherokee lines back to 6 women. And if you are truly Cherokee, you can usually hook up to one of those lines. But almost everybody that I have talked to, that once they get their DNA done, they can't find those Cherokees. And I think that's probably what, there's such a low percentage.
Well, that's what we heard, that my great-grandmother, Odie, was part
and I
Cherokee.
think his probably are, because when you get back to the 1850 census in Murphy, North Carolina, their names are written both in Cherokee and English. So I would say that there's a real good chance that
I don't think she was a princess, though. Maybe a duchess, but she wasn't a princess. Of course. Yeah, the Cherokee history is so interesting, and all the Indian history is, and then,
I want to know what activities you got going on down at the park. Do you have something big coming up, Aaron?
We do.
What is that?
This will be our annual powwow. It's done by the Friends of Red Clay, and this is their annual event that they put on at the park. And it doesn't just focus on Cherokee; it focuses on all Native American tribes. But there are quite a few Cherokee. In fact, most of them are Cherokee just because they're closer. One of my favorites are the Aztec dancers. I mean, every time they get up there and they just start that drum beat, it just gives me chills. I mean, they're just amazing. So you guys definitely need to come out next week, next weekend, Saturday and Sunday. It's from 10 until 5 both days. It's only $5 per vehicle. You can have a clown car, and it's still $5. So come out, and that $5 goes directly back into the park. It supports Red Clay. And
well, a lot of people don't realize that, yes, the state pays your salary and they pay somebody to mow the grass, but they don't give you enough money to buy the postage and anything extra.
No, they don't. And last year my budget was cut 12%, and I'm working with $20,000 less than I was before. And
I work
it's
for the
really
state
hard.
of Tennessee. I know exactly how that works.
Yes, sir. Yes.
But so you'll have Aztecs dancers. What else will be going on down there?
Well, they're going to be doing. It's kind of like, it's called the Luck of the Draw. It's a dance competition, and basically they you put money in the pot, people, tip and that sort of thing, and then they draw a number, and then that person gets the money, and it's basically a big dance competition is what a powwow is. It's a competition.
Okay.
So.
Will there be serving fried bread?
Yeah, that's I knew wrong.
Yes, I'm pretty sure
I try to cover the important things in life.
Yes, sir.
The last time we went down, which I guess was Cherokee Days in August, or whatever you call them these days, we got a fried bread that had strawberries on top of it and whipped cream, and oh my gosh.
Yes, it was good. Good morning, you're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning once again, Ron.
Yes.
I was actually down there a while ago, and I talked to Miss Aaron. I guess she might have been calling her that, but
That's
I
fine.
was impressed with her by her gun and she
You like them tough women with guns, hey? I know what you are now.
she's very pretty too. And but anyway, we was talking to her.
Thank you.
And I told her I've been there about 10 times. I'm gonna come down there probably. When did you say that was? Next Sunday?
It's next Saturday and Sunday, 10 to 5.
Okay. And like I say, I was very impressed with you. And
Thank you.
We was talking a little bit about her high school career and all this stuff. But she's
Bullet liked her because she was a Cleveland High fan.
yeah. Well, you have to hit on the head right there. But anyway,
Absolutely.
I just want to find out about that, and I'm gonna be sure and come down there next weekend.
Great.
All right, sounds good. I'll be there too. That's a great for anybody that's a photographer. It's always a great opportunity to take pictures.
Go ahead, Deb.
Wait a minute, I'm answering a message.
Oh, you can't multitask there?
I cannot. I can't text and drive. I can't sit still and text at the same time. So you're going to have you'll have craft booths, I guess.
We'll have craft booths. We'll have 4 different food vendors that we'll have there, and we'll have storytelling. We're going to have some living history folks. We'll have singing, dancing, and just celebrating Native Americans. It'll be a great weekend.
So if you're looking for unique Christmas gifts, that would be someplace great to find some.
Absolutely.
They always have. Are they called corn beads?
Yes, ma'am. There are corn bead necklaces.
The ladies, I always like watching them make the necklaces out of those natural beads, and they sell them for a reasonable price.
Good morning, you're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Yeah, this is T. Bandy.
Hey, T-Bandy.
T, what's up, buddy? You got a fish truck coming this week?
The 25th.
next Saturday. What time you think? About 11 o'clock?
Yeah.
So if they need to order fish before that time, give them your number.
Well, they can just walk in if they want to and buy a whole lot.
Buy a whole lot. Okay. Yeah. So is this a good time of year for everybody to be stocking?
We've been to the yard sale up at that church, and Marilyn put her parking brake on, and I had to pull it off. Now the light's still on.
Uh-oh. Well, there you go.
If it ain't one thing, it's another. That's the way it is.
Well, you have a nice day.
All right, there,
Thanks,
T.
T will have a fish truck coming next Saturday at 11 o'clock at the, I always call it the Bradley Farmers Co-op, but I think technically it's called the Southeastern Farmers Co-op down on Blue Springs Road. Be sure to go by and see him if you need some fish for your pond.
See some fish and then go on down to Red Clay. You're right there.
There you go.
You're going in the
There you
right
go.
direction
See?
there. Don't drop them in the spring, though.
No, please don't.
Fred does not need a legacy.
Oh, I forgot what I was going to say. Now you got.
So you're going to have food vendors, craft vendors. Great place to bring your kids.
Oh, great place to bring your kids, definitely.
I think
it's open air.
Yes.
Right.
There is no video games.
And it's going to be fall, and hopefully the leaves will be changing.
Well,
it's gonna be beautiful.
Ron and I were down there in August, and we particularly enjoyed the part where you just get to walk in the cabin, and somebody had a little fire built, and they'd actually cooked potatoes or something, and they were eating, and they were explaining, the different things about the cabin to us, and it really, the smell and the them being dressed in period attire, it was just really good. And what was it the guy was doing in the barn there close by, Ron? He was making
bows,
I think.
Yeah,
that was pretty interesting.
Yes, I love adding the living history component to our event because history to me was not fun growing up. But now that I work at Red Clay, I love it. But I love the living history because you get to see it.
Mm-hmm.
You get to smell it, you get to touch it, and that's what really makes it. What will make kids learn the history. Just like they do up like at Fort Loudon, doing all the reenactments and stuff. I mean, history
and each time you
alive.
have something, it seems to grow just a little bit more.
Yes.
Just a little bit more.
And I wanted to tell Bullet is that Aaron has a gun, but I've seen her use a blowgun.
Yeah,
that's right.
And she's pretty good at it. I mean, I was at the
SAR,
and she was the guest speaker and was showing the blowgun, I think, and she was pretty good at that. And and Aaron, do you go out and do public things like that to speak at organizations a lot?
I do actually. I'm doing the Historical Society down. It's in Georgia. I can't remember.
Probably Whitfield County.
Maybe
they're together. Whitfield County and Murray County Historical Society.
Yeah, I'm going down to talk about Red Clay. I just went to
Crown Archives. Maybe is where you're going.
I'm not sure. Yeah. I'm not sure. I've got the address, I know that at least. But and then I did a thing at Blythe Ferry. I'll come out and talk to anybody that wants to listen or learn about Red Clay. I love going to schools, doing school groups.
Right.
That's my favorite thing to do.
Kids would just be extremely interested. And unfortunately,
the thing I like about Red Clay is when the kids get there, it's wide open ground, and for the first 6 minutes, it's just like a stampede because they're testing out the dirt and stuff.
What might be better now at teaching school kids than when I grew up is they're not the cowboy pictures on all the time.
Right.
Every Saturday morning, you watch Gene Autry and Roy Rogers, and they always had to shoot an Indian.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's always that, or a guy in a black hat.
Right.
Yeah, so, but those cowboy pictures are sort of things of the past now. So we can teach our young people what Indians are,
Right.
And they don't have the concept of Indians as we did growing up, which wasn't always a good concept either.
Right. Well, Hollywood kind of ruined it, kind of jaded everyone's view of what a Native American was. The ones that you're talking about with that's the Plains Indians. They were out in the plains. The Cherokee, they didn't live in teepees because they could sustain life right where they were. They had homes. They could hunt. They were farmers. I mean, they could live. They didn't have to follow the food. So they could live right here.
They weren't a nomad, in other words. They
Exactly.
were just
Right.
There was one movie I remember. Burt Lancaster played an Apache chief, and he was ran up into the mountains, but he had come east in the movie, and he said he had met up with the Cherokee Indians, and they taught him how to plant corn, and he came back and you couldn't have a warrior planting corn, but he was planting corn to feed his family. So, and I thought it was always interesting that the Cherokee Nation weren't warriors, although they did fight some.
Some of them fought a lot. The Red Sticks fought a lot.
And Dragon Canoe was probably one of the.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, every society kind of has to have somebody that's willing to take care of it, and that's what those guys did. Now, are you familiar at all with Horseshoe Bend?
The Battle of Horseshoe Bend? A little bit,
and
yes.
Is that in Alabama? Yeah.
Yes, it sure is.
About 4 hours from here, I think.
Is it? We've been thinking about taking a day trip down there. We do that occasionally. We have not been to Horseshoe Bend, and we were wanting to see it. We are very fortunate in this area that we have a lot of national parks and state parks and national forests. And I think when you grew up in this area, you kind of take all that for granted. But like recently, we went to Mississippi, and we had to drive a lot of hours to find a national park there. And
we drive a lot of hours to find a McDonald's.
Yeah.
You're out in the country when you don't have McDonald's.
Right, you sure are.
And we went to Hole in Wall, Tennessee this week, and I said, well, it's not exactly primitive. They did have a Walmart over on the edge of town. But, which kind of surprised us because it really is not out on the main road or anything.
Real quick history lesson. Hole in the Wall, Tennessee is located in Lewis County.
Hohenwald.
Not hole in the wall, but Holden Wall, which means high forest in German. There was a big Swiss community in this area there, a lot of logging and mining and different things. But it's in Lewis County, and we went into their museum there, which was another unique thing in itself, but we won't talk about it. But
well, no, let's tell them about it.
Well, anyway.
When you went into the museum, which was really neat, they had an old bank teller's cage, and this little lady was sitting in there, and she took our money to go through the museum, and they had a pioneer cabin exhibit.
With a good, you push a little button, and the lady told us about everything in the cabin. And
then there was a country doctor.
A mining.
And a corner that represented coal mining, and then you walked out of that little small space into a
huge room.
That was safari animals.
An African safari. So we weren't sure most of those animals had never been to Lewis County, but there was a gentleman.
Apparently there was somebody there that hunted.
A gentleman who was a rather wealthy man who gave his collection there and helped pay for the museum. So, but they were very interesting to see. You just didn't think you would go from.
It was 3/4 of the museum was things I don't even know what they were. Big old heads hanging on the wall.
But why it's called Lewis County is it was named after Meriwether Lewis
of Lewis and Clark.
Clark, and Lewis and Clark. Meriwether Lewis is not from Hole in the Wall or Lewis. He was the governor of Louisiana, or a territorial manager of Louisiana, but he was committed suicide 2 times there in Lewis County.
2 times.
He shot himself.
He was very determined.
Supposedly he was at a tavern, not a bar. They're called taverns then.
Which would be a place to get something to eat and something to sleep and maybe
anyway,
something to drink.
He shot himself in the back of the head twice with a muzzle-loader pistol.
Oh, my gosh.
And it was considered a suicide.
I'm sorry for laughing, but we went.
But I think there's a TV series on. It's on Decoded, maybe on the Travel Channel, and they went
debunked.
They went to Hole in Wall saying he probably couldn't have shot himself in the back of the head twice with a muzzle-loader pistol and committed suicide. But he has a national monument there
where he was buried,
and it's at the Natchez Trace Parkway.
Now that was really interesting. There was parts of the Natchez Trace visible.
The actual trace, yes.
The actual trace visible. Now, I really like that. If you thought of the Indians used that as their walkway to go everywhere that they went on this continent, and to see portions of it that have been preserved, I thought that was really neat. And that tavern happened to be sitting there, so the National Park Service said, "Hey, we got a couple of things here. We've got Meriwether Lewis died here, and we have the parts of the parkway. Of course, you could get on the parkway, the actual paved parkway, a short distance away."
So that was 1809 when he was killed. In 1848, they created Lewis County in the state of Tennessee, honored Meriwether Lewis, who's not a Tennessean, but because he had shot himself in the back of the head twice in Tennessee.
You have to acknowledge these
things.
Right.
This was, you read that and you go, he shot himself in the back of the head twice with a muzzle loader.
That's real talent.
After you shoot yourself in your head, you had to load it.
I'm not an investigator, but I could pretty much say that's probably not true.
But that's a little bit of history there.
But
And-
anyway, we went there this week and we saw some pretty good attempts at preserving the history there.
And we can tell you a little bit what we went to, but I can't tell you everything yet. We'll get after this call here. Good morning, live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hey, Ron, Deb, and Aaron.
Hey, how you
Hello.
doing?
Hey, this is RD.
Hey,
Hey,
RD.
RD, what's up, buddy?
Oh, just having a yard sale out here today.
Where at? Tell us the address.
1642 Harris Creek Road, right near the A-frame. It's 40, 50 years worth of accumulated stuff.
So good junk?
Yeah, we got Waterford crystal, we got quilting stuff, we got antiques, we don't have it put out. You tell us what you're looking for.
There you go. RD, I know you collect a lot of artifacts and stuff. Have you been to Red Clay State Park?
Yes, I have actually. Aaron, you know me. I'm your telephone man.
Oh, okay. Hi, Mr. Telephone Man.
I called you there a week ago to see if y'all could go shooting with me. But
Yes, I know exactly who you are. Yes, yes.
Good deal. So yeah, I've been out there a few times. It's a beautiful place, and yeah, I don't go out there and collect artifacts, but
no.
Yes, no.
I have still, if I can get them uncovered again, that's what we're trying to do, is sell a bunch of this stuff so I can get back to the far wall again. So kind of missed our window of opportunity to get them out. So, but I got Mom and Dad moved in here, and so now we're trying to thin out. But y'all come see us.
Hey, we
Okay.
will.
Harris Creek Road. Look for RD next to the A-frame. See you, buddy.
Just about across. Y'all take care now.
Bye-bye. I was going to tell you real quick, Deb and I got invited to appear on a taping of a new television show. It's going to be on the Travel Channel, and I can't tell you much more about it, but it has something to do with booze. And why I got invited to do anything with booze, because I don't drink. So, but after you see the show, it's a 15 episodes. They've only filmed one of them in America.
And that was the one that we
And the one
did.
we did in Hole in the Wall, Tennessee. And after you see it, and after we can make the announcement, we can tell you more about what our segment was sometime early November. But we spent a whole day with the television crew from the Travel Channel.
Yeah,
So,
it was a pretty interesting
awesome.
day. I wanted to say, too, talking about artifacts and things, my mom grew up just a mile or so from Red Clay State Park. And when she was a young woman or a young child, they were still finding Civil War artifacts in that area. Of course, that had only been 50 years earlier.
Right.
Folks, we're going to take a few-minute break, and when we come back from the break, I believe our son Will be calling in, talking about something that he's working on presently. And
we always play the song Gone Home, particularly out to Benjamin Martin, the Bear Man. This goes out to you, bud.
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WHOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Check into cash.
Turn your car into cash at Check Into Cash.
Get an auto title loan today for up to $2,500.
At Check Into Cash, you get the most for your car, and we make it quick, easy, and confidential.
Stop in for an auto title loan today or a payday advance for up to $425. Call toll-free 877-262-CASH.
Title loan amount determined by value of car and ability to repay. Borrowers often use payday advances over a period of months, which can be expensive. Restrictions apply. See store for details.
If you need a little green, Lending Frog is making deals. He'll lend you cash on any kind of wheels. Borrow just a little, or you can borrow big. Lending Frog is a new financial gig. It's hip to hop into cash. LendingFrog.com is making a splash. Dig it, dig it. Dig it, dig it.
Wheeler Technologies has moved. Visit them at their new location at 490 Grove Avenue Southwest next to Bradley Rentals. Same great folks, same great service with a better location to serve you. Call Wheeler Technologies for voice, data, and security needs at 664-TECH. That's 664-8324. And remember, depend on Wheeler Technologies for the current time and temperature every day at 476-1111. Tennessee Alarm Contractor C1750.
to sing in the dell seem to say, gone home. They have gone home. Gone they have gone home. They've joined the heavenly fold. They're walking the streets of pure gold. They left one by one as the work here was done. Gone home. They have gone home. Gone home. They have gone home. Life here is lonely since they've gone before. Gone. They have gone home. Gone home. They have gone home. The old weeping willow that stands by the door sadly sighs. They have gone home. Gone home. They have gone home. They've joined the heavenly fold. They're walking the streets of pure gold. They left one by one as the work here was done. Gone home. They have gone home. Gone home. They have gone home. They've joined the heavenly fold. They're walking the streets of pure gold. They left one by one as their work here was done. Gone home. They have gone home. Gone home. They have
That goes out to Bearman Benjamin Martin, passed away Thursday.
No, I didn't know Ben.
That
his
was a
real name.
joke.
Oh,
Now,
Coach
wait
to
a minute.
Coach is sponsored by
Let's see if we can stop this thing. Who
Push all the
knows?
buttons, Ron. Push all the buttons.
Well, you got to push some of them to get it to stop.
Hey,
and
we got
some-
somebody on the phone, we hope.
Oh no, not him.
Good morning.
Good morning. Who we got here?
This is Will.
Hey, Will Moore. How are you, sir?
I can't complain. No one really listens.
That's
Somebody said that they talked to you last night. Bullet said he met you and talked to you last night.
Yeah, he did. We were at the Cleveland Walker Valley game, which was a pretty good game.
It was a good game, I think. Well, Will, I understand that you are doing something for the Children's Network. You're
Or the Children's Hospital at Erlanger.
Erlanger. Yes, what are the
T.C. Thompson.
T.C. Thompson, and you're doing a fundraiser, and you'd like to get some help. And I tell you, how do you get such fun things to help raise money? Tell them what you're doing.
Well, what I'm doing is I'm working with a company called Extra Life, and what it is basically, you remember the old 24-hour TV telephones?
Yes.
The telephones, yeah.
Yeah, it's basically kind of like the 2014 version of that.
So it's going to be done on the internet, I suppose.
Yes, I'll be streaming off a website called Twitch TV, and it is a 24-hour marathon of video games.
Oh, well, I'm sure you
Oh,
can handle
now,
that.
yeah, you should be good at that then.
I don't know if I can actually do it. I've never even gotten close to that. I don't know if I've ever been awake for 24 hours in a row.
There have been days you haven't moved in 24 hours.
Probably. It goes to a really great cause. It's going to T.C. Thompson.
Yes.
Which is a Children's Miracle Network program. And my goal is to hopefully raise $200, which we are doing a great job so far, which we have $50 already for these kids. But we're hoping to get a little bit more. I want to go past this $200 mark.
So now, what if someone would like to give some money to for the program? What do they have to do?
Well, you can go on Ron or Debbie's Facebook page or go to my Facebook page, which is Will Moore, and you'll see a link with a blue controller on there. You can click that link and you can follow all the instructions, and you can donate how much you want. You can be $5 or $20 or how much you want.
So,
Yeah, I did that last night, and even I could.
even Mom could do it. Yeah,
Even
that's
I could do it. So anyone that can get on the internet can do it. If you go to my page on Facebook, you'll see it listed there, and you just click on the blue game controller and follow those paths. And I was able to pay with PayPal, but it offered different secure locations for credit cards too.
So if there's 20 of our listeners today give $10 each to help out the children's T.C. Thompson I get that right here a minute.
It's the Children's Hospital at Erlanger now. They've changed the name.
Okay. And Will could raise $200, and it goes to a great cause. And Will can play video games for 24 hours.
And the money goes straight to the cause.
Right. It is 100% to the cause. None of the donations go to the charity itself or to the players. So it is going.
Oh, so there's no administration fees. That's nice.
Yeah. So there is nothing that goes to anyone else besides these kids.
Yeah,
all
that's
these
right.
Kids are struggling with cancers, early birth, anything that's a severe, damaging disease or injury.
We're really fortunate to have that hospital in this area.
Oh, yes, we are. It is a great hospital. I actually visited down there last week, and the kids are just great. They're
all righty,
all so
Will.
happy.
Well, thank you so much for calling, buddy, and good luck on. And when will that be?
I believe it will be the 28th, and it will start at 8 o'clock, and it will end on the 29th at 8 o'clock.
There you go. But you can go ahead and make your donations now.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Will, Coach Steve Loxton told me to tell you hello last night.
Oh, well, I say hello back to him. I've missed him. I haven't seen him in a while. Hopefully, the wrestling team can do pretty good this year, hopefully.
They're going to be sharp this year, I think.
Bradley Wrestling Team, I warn all my Cleveland High fans and buddies out there, Bradley's going to beat you this year.
They're back.
Yeah, let's hope so. We had our reloading seasons. It's time to Bradley Bear to...
Well, now, Will, you have to admit you had 19 seasons that you dominated, so if you're down a couple of seasons, you can't count that as bad times.
It's still not fun.
Right.
Thanks, Will. Thanks for calling, buddy.
All right, you have a good one.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Yeah, just go to Will Moore's Facebook page or Ron Moore or Debbie Moore.
I believe I posted it on Old Town Facebook last night, too.
So, just you can go sign up $5, $1, anything to a good cause like that. And so Will can play video games for 24 hours. I mean...
He's looking for permission.
Some people go out and build fences. Will plays video games for 24 hours, but it is for a very great cause.
Yeah, it's a good way to help. Ron, tell everybody about the Apple Festival here real fast.
The Apple Festival is going on today from 10 till, don't know what time it is. It's $5 to get in for normal age folks.
6
Aaron can go for
today.
$5. I might be able to get in for $4 now. Since I don't know if they count me as a senior citizen. I look like one. They know.
There you go.
If I use my walker,
I'll
I can
take
get there.
my senior coffee anytime at the Hardee's. It's nice.
And so they have all kind of booths. They have apples, of course, and they have other crafts. They have
fried pies.
Oh, the fried pies from the Apple Orchard. They're really good. Aaron, those. Oh my gosh!
Yes.
And then G Daddy Barbecue. My friend Anthony Dunn's up there. If you haven't had any good barbecue, it's there. And then the Master Gardeners are there. And if you want soil samples, and they'll be selling plants and things. So, and if you have questions about your garden or your lawns or thing, Master Gardeners can answer for you.
Yes.
Hey, we got another call. Good morning, you live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hey, Ron, this is Bob.
Bob Cash, how are you?
Just fine. Listen, this Apple Festival going on today. You think Red would buy me an apple?
If you'll buy her an apple, she'll go.
Okay, I'll do that.
Hey, there you go, Red. He's broke into his billfold, and he's going to buy you a apple.
Hey, listen, Ron. The guy that was just talking to you about the donation for the children, I like that. And, Ron, I'd like to donate $10. I don't have a computer to go on to send it, but how can I do that?
We will get Will to get a hold of you. That was our son there, Bob, and I'll have him get a hold of you.
Well, good. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll give him your number, or you can bring us the $10 and we'll donate it.
Great. Well,
that will work, folks. If you want to donate and you're close by, if you'll come by the studio, we'll take the cash and then we'll go online and donate. Because I know a lot of people, might not be able to do that.
There's nothing wrong with that. I'll be happy to do it. I sure will.
Okay, well.
I'm enjoying the show this morning.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay, so what time did you want to meet? What time do you want to meet Red up there?
See you later.
What time you want to meet Red up at the Apple Festival?
Oh, I think he hung up.
Yep.
Oh, she'll have to just guess which handsome man he is. I think next
Well,
week.
no, he'll be the ugly one.
No, that's it.
No,
He'll be the ugly guy with the apple in his hand.
I like Bob, but no, he's not pretty. I mean, I just said, I'm sorry.
I think next Saturday will also be the last cruise in of the season.
Yes.
And boy, what cruise ins we have in Cleveland, Tennessee.
They are great, and the weather will be cool. And I like cooler than I do the hotter. I have to
Me
admit,
too.
I just, I can put on enough clothes to get warm, but I can't take off enough and be legal to be cool. Is
Right,
the problem.
right.
So.
And then you still won't be cool.
Yeah,
really.
right.
Yeah, yeah. Oh no.
Just sunburned.
Yeah.
Just sunburned.
You said you wanted to talk about something coming up, and it's the meeting of the 3 tribes,
Yes.
which is not a common thing, is it?
No, they just started having a tri-council, which is with all 3 federally recognized tribes just several years ago. And it's now the Eastern Band's turn to host it, and they want to host it at Red Clay. So this will be a historic event to have all 3 tribes there to have the first ever, council meeting. All 3 together. In the past, 1984, they had the joint council reunion, which was, that kind of symbolized the 2 bands coming back together, forgetting about the past and focusing on the future. But the UKB was not included in that, and so this time they're going to be included.
We're going to talk about those 3 bands after these questions. Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
How you doing, Ron?
I'm doing fine, Brett. How you doing?
Good.
Now, let me ask you a question, Brett.
Yeah.
I was sitting at the Bradley McMinn County game in McMinn County last night, and somebody pulled up on their phone and had a Twitter page, and there's Brett with CHS painted on his face at the Cleveland ball game. What happened, Brett?
One of the students put it on my face last night.
But you're a Bear. You work for Bradley High School. How come you weren't at the game?
It was too far from me.
Oh, okay.
It was too far for me to go.
But that was a good ball game over at Cleveland. Now, we kid Cleveland. We like Cleveland, and particularly they beat Walker Valley, so we were real excited about that.
Yeah, that was a good game last night for Cleveland and for Bradley.
Yes, Cleveland now will play for the district championship next Friday night at Ottawa. Unfortunately, Ottawa's pretty darn good this year, so it might be a tough night. But they will finish second though in the district. So any other scores there, Brett?
Huh?
Are there any other scores?
Ray County ended up winning in their game. They beat Warren County last night.
Yes, Warren County. That was a big win for Ray County. Wake County's done good this year.
And Friday lost to over East Hamilton.
That was a surprise to me.
Yeah. Hey, I was gonna let everybody know to go behind Don Ledford behind Bradley Square Mall.
Okay. They're having a car wash for something at Bradley. I forgot what organization is it.
The Booster Club.
Booster Club, yeah. So they're having a car wash there right behind Don Ledford. So go out, and Bradley's going to have to raise a lot more money. They're going to be in what they call the Super 32, and their closest game will be 2 hours away. So it's going to be a tough season for the Bears financially next year.
Yeah, big game tonight.
Who's that?
Ron.
What's the big game?
Tennessee and Ole Miss.
Oh my goodness! Who do you think's going to win that?
Go Vols.
I'm going with Tennessee.
You're going to go with Tennessee. What's the score going to be?
Tennessee up big.
Tennessee big. Well, I hope you're right.
I hope you're
I
right.
like that score.
I think you're wrong, but I hope you're right.
Hey, Ron.
Yes.
I'll be at East Saudi next week.
Well, I'll be there with you. I'll see you.
I'll be making the trip up to East to Saudi.
Yep, that's the only place I ever been that it's uphill. When you park, it's uphill to the football field, and then it's uphill back to your car. I don't understand how that happens, but it's on the worst piece of property ever built a school on in Saudi Daisy. It's a good school, and nothing wrong with the school, but they put it in the worst piece of property ever seen. All right, thank you. Bye-bye. Something that Tennessee, I learned that this is something else Lane Kiffin did to us. Your thing. This guy named Marshall, who is from Pulaski, Tennessee, is the quarterback for Ole Miss. Now, think about that next time, Tennessee. Don't let them Tennessee boys get away from us there.
you.
That was a good, good guy. Good morning, live on Old Town Cleveland. Hello?
Hello?
Go ahead.
Hey, Ron.
Oh, this is Ella.
Yep, this is Ella.
What are you doing, Ella?
I slept in this morning and I got tired.
Well, when you get drunk on Friday night, it's hard to get up in the morning.
Well, I just being this one guy was the only one dancing. We really danced. That was a good band.
Oh, where was you at?
Pokies.
Pokies. I'm surprised as much as you drink that you remember that.
Do what?
I'm surprised as much as you drink that, so you can't even remember what I said.
I only drank 2 beers.
2 beers at a time. Yes, I understand how that happens.
Anyway, I had fun.
Did you have your inhaler with you?
Do what?
Did you have your inhaler and your 2 beers?
No, I just have 1 beer at a time.
1 beer at a time, okay. All right, Miss Ella, it's good to hear from you. Finally that you woke up.
I got a bad hand, you know, so.
From falling down.
Yeah. All right.
Bye, Miss Ella.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
She's got to have somebody else twist the beer tops off for her now. That's unfortunately.
That's hilarious.
The 3 bands.
The Catula. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, well, first off, why is there an Eastern band, the Cherokee Nation, and what is it? How do you pronounce that?
United Katua Band.
Katua.
Or Kadua. It's
Kadua.
Kadua.
Okay, tell us first about the Kadua and why there is 3 bands. And they're not all just Cherokees, or I mean, they're all Cherokees, but why is there 3 bands?
Well,
and they don't necessarily are not friends.
They
are more now than
they
used
are
to
more
be.
now.
Yeah.
They are
Right.
much more friends now than they used to.
But I would say each one of them think that they're the better band than the other
Well,
one.
not
though.
better. It's just they think
Yeah,
their
they do.
history is more important.
Yes,
Right,
yeah.
right.
So start off with the first one.
Well, the UKB, or the United Katua Band, they were a group of Cherokee that left before anybody else. They called them the Old Settlers. They went over and they settled in Arkansas and different parts.
So now how sooner than we think 1830.
1818, something like
We
that.
think 1838 when we seen them move.
When
but-
things first started falling apart for them, a few of them could see the handwriting on the wall,
Right,
and they wanted to control their own destiny. And they said, "We are going to get away from these crazy people."
Right.
And they just moved themselves out west. There were no soldiers with them. These were old stock.
They just evacuated.
They evacuated. They said, "Well,
Now, when did the treaty? There was treaties from 1800 up.
well, there was a
Starting in
treaty every
17.
time that the U.S. government thought that they could get a better deal."
Yes, that's a good way to put it. Absolutely. I don't know exactly how many, but there was a lot of treaties. Well, the Cherokee Nation and the Eastern Band, how do they come to be? Well, the Cherokee Nation is the group of Cherokee that actually walked on the Trail of Tears. The Eastern Band is made up of the folks that kind of rebelled against the government. They went and hid in the hills of North Carolina, as well as the folks that actually stayed in North Carolina. They could, if they kind of gave up their citizenship, to the nation, they could stay there and own the land.
See, that's some of the rub between the Cherokee Nation and the Eastern Band, is that they felt like they abandoned their
Right.
heritage.
Right.
But you were in the situation, you were living on a farm, and they said, well, if you're willing to say that you are a citizen of North Carolina, you can stay here.
Right.
Well, most people took that deal.
Yeah.
And some of the people from this area, when they got ready to go out west, you didn't necessarily have to run and hide, but you said, hey, I'm going to my relative's house up in North Carolina, and you could just kind of go.
Now, is it true that you didn't actually have to leave, but you didn't own property or anything anymore? They were going to take everything you had, land-wise, But
That's
you didn't
why
ha-
some people went
But you
to the
didn't
Eastern
physically
Band.
have to walk, though. You didn't have to go on the Trail of Tears. I mean,
when you got down to that final, when it got down to 1838 and you hadn't moved yet, they
Yeah.
pretty much thought you were going to rebel. So those are the people that they actually gathered up and put in stockades. Before that, it had been pretty much optional.
Right. It was
or
volunteer.
at your own speed.
you got put in stockade don't mean that you had rebelled. You just hadn't moved.
Right.
I mean, basically,
You had not abandoned the land.
You weren't out fighting them or anything in nature because
Well, not
the bulk of them.
Right.
They were.
But the Catullus had gone ahead and gone out west, and they had established their own government, and they had everything going, and they had gotten sufficient, self-sufficient, and all that kind of stuff. Well, all of a sudden, 20 years later, here's all these people showing up from the east that needed to be fed. They needed someplace to live. They needed all these things. The government just kind of took them out there and went, okay, come to Breadtown and get some
and John
something.
Ross said, "I'm here. I'm in charge."
Yeah.
Yes. And
Then
they
John
took
Ross
over.
showed up very late in this game and said, okay, good for you. I'm here now and I'm in charge. And there was a lot of turmoil. And he eventually did get in charge. A short time later was put in charge. But, there was some resentment there. And then the Civil War came along. And the people that had been out there a long time sided with the U.S. government. The people that were fairly new going out there decided not to trust the government anymore for obvious reasons. And so there was battles among the Cherokee themselves that were out west over the Civil War. That caused great troubles. I don't know what the Eastern Band did during that time. But the Eastern Band was basically given lands or were able to stay on their own lands. And then at some point in time, the government came in and took their land away from them.
And then there's another group, the Ridge Group, who were the ones who signed the treaties. Who
Right.
Most of the Indians said didn't think they should have signed the treaty, and some of them got killed.
They did
Yes.
as a result of it because, it was a handful of Cherokee that were representing for thousands,
Yes.
for the whole nation. And they shouldn't have done that.
And they didn't agree.
96% of the people did not want to be removed. And these few little people said yes. But the Ridges were educated people, and they could see the handwriting on the wall.
Right.
They thought, okay, it's going to come down to being armed against the U.S. government, and we're going to lose, and a lot of innocent people were going to get killed. We need to make sure that we move. And that was their thought.
Or did the Ridges say, we may get a better deal out of this if we move and sort of lead it, and we go out and take charge early? Is that some of it?
No.
I don't think with
They
them-
be in charge already. I mean, they didn't really
Right.
need.
Right, but I'm sure there were some people that were for it. They were going to get like kickbacks,
Yeah.
be compensated in some
Yes, they
way.
were.
Yeah, so they were kind of for it.
Well, and the
but-
Ridges too. The Ridges' sons and the cousins of the Ridges. I mean, they were educated in the Ivy League colleges, which everybody thought that was really neat.
And
And so
John
they
Ross was too, wasn't he? Wasn't he?
No.
And
then everybody thought that was really neat until they wanted to marry the girls out of the community. Then all of a sudden, it wasn't that neat anymore.
Right.
But they did end up marrying some of those girls.
the smaller band. It's the smaller of the three bands. The
UKB.
UKB.
It is the smallest. Yes,
And where are they based out of now?
they're out of Oklahoma as well.
They're in Oklahoma
Mhm.
too.
Yes, they are.
So, do they live on the reservation?
There are no reservations out there.
Well, what there was one at one time, was there not?
Well, it's their land. It's just I don't.
There was what we would think of as a reservation there for a number of years, and then in the early 1900s or something, they deeded the property off to individuals, and the individuals have now sold the property. So there's no reserve of land there
Not
anymore.
like they are still out west more. That they are still
for the other band,
large
the other tribes,
reservations,
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But now in the Eastern Band, they live on a boundary,
Right.
which is basically the land that belongs to the group. Which
Did-
so when I went to Tahlequah in Oklahoma for the first time, I thought I was going to see a situation like in North Carolina that you're going to get there and all the people are living, but that's not the truth. It's individual lands. The courthouse and the old jail and all that belongs
Is that
to
why
the
they
tribe.
don't have a casino? I mean, seriously, all the ones that have reservations and boundaries have
I
casinos
think
that
that
make
it
money.
has interfered with the casinos.
I didn't mean that as a joke. I mean, it's probably
Right.
a reason. Go ahead. Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland. I'm sorry. Call right back after that message goes off.
I did get a message from Will saying that he can come by and pick up donations. His number is 423-715-23 $4.99.
Or you can bring them to us, and we'll make sure it gets to him also. Go ahead, caller. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
I wanted to ask Debbie, was Prater's Mill was it close enough to be part of the Red Clay?
No, Prater's Mill was a little bit farther away, but we know the Indian that actually owned that property and had a stagecoach stop and a mill and all that stuff. His name was Radling Gord, and he was a cousin, I believe, of Conrad Hare, or Hare Conrad.
Okay, they really had a mill, a grist mill, didn't they, Debbie?
They had something like a grist mill, but of course the mill that's there now was a pioneer mill. It was built long after the removal of the Indians.
Okay.
They had their big celebration down there last Saturday and Sunday, and I missed it.
Yeah. One other question: are there many mountains down there in Red Clay?
More like ridges. You know, just rolling hills and valleys. It's not.
When you stand at the Red Clay State Park, there's a ridge on the east side of it and the west side of it.
That Blue Spring Ridge, it runs all the way from up in town all the way down through there. Fort Hill's on that same ridge. It runs all the way down there.
All righty. Thanks, Sid.
Hey, wait just a minute.
Okay.
One more question here. Now.
Oh, okay.
That thing I've been wondering about Red Clay. During the Trail of Tears, was most of them run out of there?
All of them.
Or did they set that aside for a...
No, that was it. Sid, it was property that was used to have the council meeting on.
Oh, okay.
And then during the removal, they gathered people up there, and they were removed, and the white settlers came in and were able to purchase that property.
There was white families on that after 38 or whenever it was. So
my family was there as early as 1850.
So all this if you were in the 1800s and lived in Georgia or Tennessee or Kentucky and Alabama, you live on Cherokee land.
Right.
And so they had squeezed the Cherokee Indians basically into Bradley County. Their whole entire nation had got squeezed down, and this is a quick summary. And basically then they had them all rounded up, and they rounded them up even more and shipped them out.
Okay, one more thing. I've heard that, that when the Indians, I don't know if it was after the Trail of Tears or whatever, would bring their corn to a grist mill, have it ground into meal or whatever, and...
the Indians had sawmills here. They had...
Roads.
They were mining copper up in Copper Hill. They had the mills here. They had everything that the white pioneers wanted to have when they got here.
And after the Trail of Tears, there was no Indians here to take it to the grist mill. They were gone.
They also had gold nuggets to pay to have their corn ground.
That's the reason they got run out of North Georgia. They found gold there, and that's how come Georgia said, "No, we don't need Indians here."
It was quite the society.
Well, they were good on hunting that gold up there.
Yeah, well,
they would pay for it in gold nuggets.
They were able to mine the gold and the copper, and they knew what to do with it too. There'd been people coming to this area for 500 years.
The gold was probably just used for trinkets and tools, and then eventually someone said that's worth money, and then they're trading.
They used it as money.
All right, thank you, Sid. Bye bye.
That was interesting.
The boundary up there. My understanding about the boundary, and Deb's the historian. I just ask questions to get responses off of her. The boundary was was bought by a white man, and then eventually sold.
Smith, Thomas,
and then he made it a boundary. It's
Thomas is his last name, or is Thomas his first name?
Yeah,
Thomas Smith. Or Smith Thomas.
I should know that.
Yeah. Well,
But
anyway.
I know who you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah. Well, there was he may have been a pastor of some sort, but he realized that they were losing their land, so he would go and buy the land, and the Indian would pay him back for his own land.
Right.
And so that's how the boundary got to be such a chunk that was owned again by the native peoples.
Yeah, it's not a reservation; it's a boundary. And now, maybe you'll tell me the difference between a reservation and a boundary. It's basically the same thing, but not the same thing.
Well, okay, I think a reservation it's land that's reserved for them. I think they actually own that land or something.
As a group?
As individually. think? Like individual.
I think that it's land that's commonly owned, but this piece of property is for your family to use.
Maybe.
And I don't think you can sell it to anybody else.
Right.
But like KFC, I ask questions wherever I go. The people at KFC were saying that they had leased that piece of property to put up the KFC. At the end of the lease, if the Eastern Band does not want to renew that lease, they say sorry, and they just have to move off and leave their building there without any compensation, which is different than what we would do.
It's the same thing with the casinos in the boundary. Is that it's a Harrah's, but basically it's land. They can't sell the land. It's more like a trust or something. They can't sell the land, but they can lease it out.
Yes, I would say it's more like a trust. And where's the greatest place to eat in Cherokee?
Oh, right down.
Oh, that's
Granny's.
Granny's,
Oh.
yes,
Oh.
the buffet. Oh my goodness.
They got the best pickled beets in the world. They make them right there on. Let's head that way.
Yeah, I was just thinking, yum yum. If you haven't been to Granny's, it's an old 1950s restaurant out on the highway past the casinos. You go between the casinos and Santa Land, and you'll see it there on the right.
Two big landmarks.
Yeah, two big landmarks. They have a buffet that's a lot like a typical buffet, except there's somebody back there in the back that's actually putting seasoning in the food.
Right, it's not out of a can.
And they came out with a 5-gallon bucket, like a big pickle bucket, whatever that is. I guess that's 5 gallons of pickled beets, and Ron's head spun around on his shoulders.
They make those pickled beets there.
In those giant containers.
Goodness gracious.
I love pickled beets too.
Oh my gosh, it was good. And when I went up, and you may have been there, Aaron, I believe it was in 2011, they had the National Trail of Tears meeting in Cherokee, and Granny's catered every event that we went to. We went out to the original Indian mound, and they came with fried bread and grape dumplings, and oh my gosh.
Next time that RD, you get a chance to talk to him, ask him to tell you about, I think he's the one that told the pickled beet story. Here on the air about a grandson or a nephew, and you'll have to hear
all the pickled beets.
Yeah, he ate all the pickled beets, and there was some after
Ask him
effects.
about
Okay, I sure will.
And,
we're gonna go shoot together sometime.
Yeah.
But this, it's just a very interesting history that belongs to this area, and I'm so glad that people like you are helping to tell it, and the folks up at Charleston. If you haven't been to the Hiwassee Center in Charleston, Tennessee, you need to go by there. It's being run by volunteers. I've got one little paid, a small paid staff member from the Chamber of Commerce. But go by there, and they have done an excellent job of putting up the history of this area. And they'll be there tomorrow at 3 o'clock for the Charleston Calhoun Hiwassee Historical Society meeting. Doesn't cost anything to go to the meeting. Nice folks. They'd be glad to have you there. And someone from the Eastern Band will be talking about the start of the Eastern Band.
And they usually have cookies. I mean, I had to.
Not always.
Always food. Can we please quit talking about food, y'all?
She's hungry.
I'm starving.
I'm starving to death. And G Daddy's barbecue up here at the thing. It just sounds like, that's where I've got to go.
You're
here
killing
today.
me. You're killing me.
When the three bands come and meet, and
what's the
what
protocol?
are they going to do? I mean, what's the main? Is it just a ceremonial, nice thing to do, or is there some serious business going to be?
No, there will be business held. I mean, this will be a council meeting. They will, hold business there up at the amphitheater, and but then we'll have vendors and things like that
when's
too.
this
Can you
gonna be?
stand on the outside and watch all this go on?
Yes, you sure can.
Great.
When will this be?
And they haven't given me a date.
Okay.
August or September 2015.
Okay, good. That's a
Good morning, you're live on Old Town Cleveland.
One more time, Ron. I won't bother you no more. My picture was in Devon when I bought the Civil War book.
okay. I saw it the other day. I'll make myself a note.
She's got so many pictures, Sid. It's unbelievable how many she must have.
Picture of Sid at that restaurant. What was the name of the restaurant?
Scoops and Burgers. Who's no longer there. They had the best fries.
Yum.
The name of it, but
I'll find it, Sid.
and y'all got it and still got it. And
I saw it just the other day and went, hey, there's Sid.
She's got pictures. We were cleaning up her. She takes the pictures for Bradley Wrestling, and she only has 25,000 pictures of Bradley Wrestling. just 25,000.
anyway, okay, I really.
All righty.
Hey,
My-
Ron. Hey, Ron.
Yeah.
They won't let you metal check down there at Red Clay.
No, you can't
No,
do that.
no,
You
no.
can't do that in any state or national park.
We will put you under the jail for that.
She does have a gun and blow darts.
That's right.
If you're too far away, she shoots you. If you're close, you get.
She can get you with the blow darts.
You can.
Yep.
I know. I know some of the property that surrounds the.
Well, if it's not in the park property, you must ask the.
Permission of the owners.
Yes. Right.
And just don't come a foot across because she's got snipers.
I do.
And bears.
I know a lot of the owners down there.
Yep.
And yes, they said yes, but okay, my son got that $1,200 GTI. $1,200. Well, it's more than that. Ready or not, believe it or not, XLC white's XLC, and you know what a white XLC is. And then I had the Bigfoot coil. He's got everything, and he's got sniper coil, and he got all the regular coil and the hip mount. And I don't know. You can swing that one all day. And it's like you seen one hooked up like that.
I've seen several like that. Hey, we got to run, Sid. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I wanted to talk about, we were talking about Red Clay. A couple weeks ago, I had one of the old property owners that I guess Colonel Corn probably bought the land from.
Yeah.
Last name is Esslinger, and forgive me if you guys are listening. They're the sweetest little old couple came down, and he actually took me out on the grounds, and he said, well, my house was here, and Vaney Gray's was over here, and he went and showed me where all these houses and where they were facing, and I guess his grandfather owned a lot of it, and he showed me where an old store, his old grandfather's old store used to be. It was the best
Aaron,
time.
you need to get back with him and draw a map.
That's
I'm sure Tom Cry
Tom Cry's a good guy.
would be
with him.
glad to help you with that. He's retired now, and he
Okay.
loves history, and he could put it to scale because, see, my family lived there on the property, 100 years ago.
Right.
And they owned the big rocky hill. When you come out of the park and go left, and if you were to go straight and drive up that hill, that was the property that they owned up behind Mrs. Gray's house.
Now, isn't where
But-
some of the Union troops probably camped around that area?
They did.
Some actually camped at Red Clay. We have
Well,
documentation.
you have water there.
Right,
You have
it's
wonderful fresh water there. It was flat land, and my grandmother's house that's, less than a mile down the road there, I know that John Cook came and did some metal detecting up on the hill there and actually still found some remnants of stuff, but it wasn't like massive amounts of troops like what we had in Bradley County. It was, just smaller troops probably just guarding the border there.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, live on Old Town Cleveland.
Miss Debbie,
Yes.
I've got Ron figured out.
Well, now, I've been trying to do that for about 40 years, so let me hear it. You got him figured out.
If you bring up food in front of Ron, he can tell you where to go to get some good food.
That's right. That's right. He needs to be on the Food Channel.
And if you're in the Hole in the Wall, Tennessee,
Oh, my
go to the
gosh.
Junkyard Dog. What a great restaurant out in the middle of nowhere.
Really?
I ordered a hamburger steak, and I thought, well, but it said ground steak. It didn't say hamburger steak. And when I came, it was a ground up steak. Oh, my gosh.
Now, see, I told you.
We know we can sniff them out. We drove around, and when we found the place with the most local cars, we got out and tramped right in there, and it was wonderful. And they had desserts that I think it might be worth the big long drive to go back over there and get one of those desserts.
Uh-oh.
All righty, thanks, Jeff.
Don't tell Ron that now.
All righty, bye bye.
Okay, yeah, I won't know about it. Thanks, Jeff. Bye bye. Yeah, and fried bread.
Oh, I was going to say earlier when you were talking about the life history, the living history people, I think the one that I loved going in the cabin where they were cooking.
Right.
But the one that made the biggest impression on me was the women that were in the traditional Cherokee dresses, cotton dresses, that were sitting on those little benches around that open fire in August cooking something. And I thought, what a miserable existence
And they
to
were
be.
crushing corn, too, I believe.
They were crushing the corn and making it into little patties and cooking it in the little pan. But I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how hard of a life that would have been that you had to grind your own corn And then you had to always have a fire going. You
In
couldn't let the fire
90-degree
go.
weather.
In the
Yeah.
90-degree weather.
Gosh, I know.
Do you remember the story about the eternal flame?
I sure do.
Let's share that with me.
Okay. Well, when the Cherokee left Red Clay, they
Let's get this call then.
Okay, all right.
Keep that right there. Okay. Good morning, live on Old Town Cleveland.
Yes, I was calling to find out if the Native American Festival is it next weekend at Red Clay?
Yes, ma'am. The 25th and 26th, 10 to 5 both days.
Okay, I thank you very much.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you. We'll see you there. Bye-bye. And when I say that, I honestly mean that. If you see us out at an activity like that, please come over and say hello to us, because you may be somebody that calls all the time, and we'd like to meet you in person.
Yeah, if you bring some flatbread, I'll talk to you.
So Aaron's going to tell us the history about the eternal flame.
Right.
Well, when the Cherokee left, they took the coals from the council fire and they put them in iron pots, and they designated 4 Cherokee men to carry those coals all the way from there to Oklahoma. They chose 4 in hopes that, at least one of them will make it. Actually, all 4 of them did make it. And so when they finally got to Tahlequah, Oklahoma, they relit the council fire with those coals, and that council fire still burns there today. The council fire, there is actually, in the Cherokee culture, there is a fire keeper or a fire tender, and his sole purpose in life is to keep that fire going, because back then they didn't have.
It is a terribly important job.
It is, and they didn't have the conveniences of matches and lighters, so if it wasn't going, you didn't have heat, or you couldn't cook, so it was very important.
Now, at some point in time, one of the great whatever granddaughters of one of the fire carriers was actually at Red Clay State Park, maybe as the secretary. I had taken the Cherokee history course with her in 2006 or 2005 at Chattanooga State.
Mm-hmm.
Met her then, and then one day I walked in there. She was at Red Clay State Park, but I never saw her there again, so I don't know if she was just volunteering for the day. But what an emotional time for her it was to retrace the trail, to know that her grandfather was one of the men that kept all those people alive.
Wow.
Provided them with heat, provided them with food, because he kept the fire going. And when the fire came back, didn't they carry it back?
Well, what happened? Okay, so they get to Tahlequah and they light their council fire. Well, we were talking earlier about how the Eastern Band stayed, the Cherokee Nation walked. Well, the Eastern Band eventually convinced the Cherokee Nation that, hey, we want some of that fire. Let's, can we have some of it? We are still Cherokee, even though we didn't walk. We are still Cherokee. So they finally convinced them in the 1950s. They brought the fire back to Cherokee, North Carolina. So there's 2, council fires burning today from the original coals that left at Red Clay. Well, in 1984, they decided to have the joint council reunion that we all, I'm sure, if you grew up here, about. And they lit a torch like the Olympic torch, and they had 10 Cherokee runners run the fire all the way back to Red Clay, and the 2 chiefs at the time from the Eastern Band and the Cherokee Nation took the torch and lit the Eternal Flame Memorial that still burns. And it's very symbolic, because circles have no end, so there's that symbolism, and then it will eternally burn there. And the fire, the flame, actually symbolizes the Cherokee spirit, that it will eternally burn at Red Clay. And that event just it shows them coming back together as one.
Well, and I think the one thing that I took the Cherokee history course at Chattanooga State, and then I rounded people up, and we had 99 people that took it at Lee University 2009 or 2010. And I think the thing that impressed me the most about that was Dr. Coates would say, she'd tell you all those horrible things that would happen to the Cherokee, and she'd turn around and she'd say, but we survived. And we're striving. And the fellow that's from the Cherokee Nation, that's at the historian Russell Townsend. He says that if the removal hadn't happened, that they would have lost their culture, because they would have just blended in with the Americans, and they would eventually just become part of that culture. But because of the removal, they stuck together, and there's a lot of the tribes, the Choctaw, talk about they were losing their heritage. They had only moved out west, for like 100 years or something. They were moved out of the Memphis area probably more than 100 years, but they moved much later than the Cherokees moved, and they were those last group of people that remembered the traditional songs and the dances and the drum, songs and all that were leaving them, and they took a bunch of young men that were 18, 19 years old or something, and they learned all of that, and it's still alive today because that group, just like the Cherokee language, is alive because there were 5 ladies in the Eastern Band that could still speak Cherokee fluently.
Now, let me ask you
now all the kids can speak it.
Yeah. I'll ask you a technical question about the flame down at the Red
wants
Clay.
to know if he can cook a hot dog on that flame.
I don't. But I'm sure that you don't have someone keeping the coals burning, but it's a propane.
Correct.
Do you have someone in charge of the propane keeper so that you never run out?
His name's Jim Schumann, and he is my maintenance guy, and he keeps up the percentage how much we have left in the tank. So,
don't you have problems with people dropping things on the flame?
Well, what we have problems with are there's the holes in the side that keep the flame going, and you put things in those holes and it smothers the flame. So we've had people doing that, and we've had monsoons. We had the tornadoes, and the flame was fine, but it takes a human being to go and
to mess it up.
Right.
Yeah, human beings have done a lot of things in nature, haven't they?
Right.
So it's a lot like the flame on JFK's grave.
Yes.
That
I knew that. I just wanted to. Just a little fun.
But you can go see that. You can see even if a special activity's not going on, there's a welcome center down there that has a little museum in it.
Right, and we have a 8-9 minute video on the history of the park.
I want to come see. I haven't seen that video.
Well, it's essentially a slideshow with some narration behind it. It's not real exciting. I'll just tell you
I know
that.
somebody that does videos. We ought to make one. I wonder who that is.
Pointing at me.
Yeah. Good morning. You live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hey, Ron, this podcast, dude, I don't mean to bother you, but talking about Red Clay, Ron,
Yes.
I won't be able to make it down there this time, but I want to buy one of those wood flutes that the Indians make down there. And I was hoping maybe some of your audience there might have one that they might sell.
Well,
what are you wanting, Bob?
Wooden flute.
Oh, the flute. I missed that last word.
I'm sure we might have a flute maker coming to our event next weekend if you want to come down and check it out. And if we don't, I'm sure there's someone there that can get you in contact with one.
Yeah.
I would love to come, but I won't be able to make it this time. But I sure want to buy one of those wooden flutes that they make.
I think, Bob, if you wait to a not so busy week down there and give them a call, the secretary will help hook you up with somebody. The one great flute player that I know passed away last year, and but there are others that make those beautiful, beautiful flutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
If by chance you hear someone mention me to them, please.
I will, Bob.
Talk to you.
Thank you. That's something else I'd like to have, was an authentic flute.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you bought one.
I bid on. I tried to buy one when I can't even think of his name now, but someone that we knew was passing away, and all of a sudden he put all of his stuff on the internet to sell it, and before I could even go, okay, I want one, they were all gone because everybody knew. But anyway, I'm around those folks quite a bit, Bob, and I'll hook you up.
Now, if school groups or civic groups or church groups, PTAs want to get
weddings.
we're going to talk that second thing. Want you to come out and shoot the blowgun and tell about the Cherokee Indian.
Shoot the blowgun at a wedding.
At schools. How do they contact you?
Just call the park office, and we have a book that we keep all of our programs in. We get school groups all the time. We go to schools all the time. That's actually my favorite part about my job. I will come and talk to your group, and please call us. And it's free. I mean, it's free. It's no charge.
Telephone number.
Area code 423-478-0339.
And if you're wanting to come into the area that we are out on the internet, tell us that number one more time. You can call and get the hours and find out more about Red Clay Park by calling
423-478-0339.
Now, I've had family reunions there at the park. you have to call and reserve those pavilions. Is there a charge for that?
There is. It's $60 plus tax, so $65.85 is what it comes to. Now we're high tech at Red Clay. We're actually online, so you can go online and reserve the shelter and do it that way, or you can call the park office. So if you want to do it on the internet or not, it doesn't matter.
And it's a huge pavilion, and it has nice, clean restrooms right there, and additional picnic tables nearby.
So you can have events like weddings.
Yes, we just had one yesterday.
Family reunions.
Scout groups.
Or
now, do you allow like scout groups to camp there?
We sure do, as long as they do a service project for us, like picking up trash, limbs, things that we would need help with that we don't get around to. Yes, if they'll do a service project, we will let them camp there.
But there's no camping for other folks there.
Correct. No, there's not.
Now,
but you can picnic there.
You can pick.
Is there a charge to be on the grounds?
No, ma'am. It is free.
Good.
And actually, we love the Scouts because we just had 15 brand new tables and grills installed by an Eagle Scout project.
Oh, that's great, yeah.
Nathan Scott, thank you very much for that.
That saved you a lot of money.
It did. And we had another one. He did 2 brand new kiosks for us.
Oh, good.
And his name was Jacob, and I can't remember his last name.
Well, that's good.
Old age.
Yeah,
great project. Wait till it gets worse, Aaron.
Awesome. Great. Thanks.
Now, and something that probably I need to ask this: if you're having a wedding, you probably can't have a reception when alcoholic beverage.
Correct. No, you cannot.
No alcoholic beverage brought onto the grounds, and if you go down there and you're a smoker, don't just throw your cigarette butt down on the ground and stomp it out. Find some place to put it out.
We have trash cans, people.
Trash cans and
put it out good, and then. Can they smoke on the property?
They can. Okay. They can.
But be courteous.
This time of year, as it gets drier and the leaves start falling,
right,
there can be a lot of forest fires there, and we would burn some beautiful land, maybe even some cabins and things.
Right, and the old trees, just the old trees that were there when the Cherokee were there, because it takes, hundreds of years for those big oaks to get that enormous.
So smokers, don't throw your cigarette butts down and stomp them. I mean, if you want to smoke, I'm not going to get into that argument, but just be courteous to that and your trash and,
picnic in the picnicking areas.
And help teach your kids exactly what to do and to respect the property and have a lot of fun doing it, though. Good morning, live on Old Town Cleveland.
Ron, when they have that thing down there where they sell stuff, do they sell Indian moccasins?
It's possible that they'll have that. I don't know for sure, though.
It just according to what vendor and what they make. And if
Red, that's funny because I spent the day walking my toes off trying to find some moccasins in regular shoe stores. I know that they have them at Pigeon Forge at that leather shop.
Right.
And that's where I saw the authentic ones. I have seen them in activities such as what they're having next weekend, but they usually have no kind of sole on the bottom.
I would love to have a pair of them.
Well, you might just have to mosey down there next week and see if you see Mr. Bob down there somewhere.
See if I can find him.
Have you been to Red Clay?
I've never been to Red Clay.
Well, that's why we have this show, to tell you that you need to get yourself down there and look around.
So here's your assignment next week.
Okay.
Go to Red Clay, go down to Church Street to the agricultural office and get you a soil test kit to find out why your yard is dead.
I don't care. I'm just going to put up.
Well, you don't want it to come back to life because you have to mow it.
Yeah, that's right.
I know you.
Concrete it.
Well, did you ever shoot the tires out of that lady's lawnmower next door?
No, but I'm still threatening.
That is hopeful.
Aaron's got a gun down here.
I'll come help you, girlfriend.
I don't think Red needs your help. Thanks, Red. Have a good week, hon.
You too.
Bye-bye.
One Saturday morning she called. She said, that 80-year-old woman's been out there on that lawnmower for hours more. I'm just going to shoot the tires out from under her.
That is hilarious.
We have the greatest callers in the world.
Well, folks, Aaron, you got any last comments? Tell us next weekend, activities next weekend.
Yes, we have the annual Friends of Red Clay powwow. Come out and celebrate Native American culture. Any teachers or homeschoolers out there, you can call this week and set up a reservation for Friday. It is not open to the public, just to schools and school groups, and it's an pure education day from 9 to 3. It's $3 per child. All adults are free.
Okay.
So
Well, that's kind of the opposite of what it usually is,
And then-
isn't it?
and then Saturday?
And Saturday and Sunday is 10 to 5. It's open to the public, $5 per vehicle.
So you bring the clown car, you said.
Yeah,
bring them
that's
out.
right.
Bring your pickup truck. And
They have to be inside the car, or can they be holding on?
They can be holding on.
Okay,
Y'all
okay,
don't
that's
get-
good.
Y'all usually have the nicest people letting people in and out of the parking lot
Thank
too.
you.
And I know that one year I went down to my Uncle Bill's house because there was just no parking left, and someone there drove me up and was going to just drop me off, and then I was going to go back down there after I got finished. But he said, I do not want this lady to walk through this mud. And they said, you just pull her all the way up there and he took me all the way up to the gate to get in, and then they let him back out. But anyway, nice folks. Go see them. Aaron, we're so glad that you're the manager down there, and we're
Thank
glad that
you.
you came and talked with us today. It's always a fun time here on Old Town Cleveland.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate
Thank you.
y'all's
Well,
support
thank you
Red
for
Clay.
the history, and go back and first off say to James Corn, who Colonel
the
Corn
vision.
had a vision of a lot of things. There's some books that he wrote also. Yeah, and for Southerners, he writ one. And,
Well, matter of fact, his grandson had republished those, I believe, for the last 30-year reunion meeting
Sure
down there.
did. Yeah.
And so, but there was what a great visionary that saved a lot of things in there. And we're looking for today's visionaries to.
And I'm
come
looking for
alongside.
movies from the opening of Red Clay State Park. I know they're out there.
Come down and
I need to come down and see what's on your. Somebody may have transferred them over to VHS later, and that may be what you have down there.
And
but we'll see.
also, if you live in the Copper Hill area or your family lived in the Copper Hill area, we're needing home movies that would include seeing the backyards,
football games, we don't
anything
care.
where you could see the red hills of Copper Hill in your photos. We'd like to have some movies of that for our documentary that's due out in April, and we're probably a little short on movies. We got a lot of interviews and things.
Photographs, but I need some movies.
Go ahead, caller. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
There's a guy up at the Plant 5 run that lived in Copper Hill for all his life. He's probably got all kinds of stuff, and I'll try to get them borrowed from him and make copies of them. And one more thing. Does John Hildebrand strike a bell on Red Clay down there?
Hildebrands? Is that what you're saying? Hildebrands?
Yeah.
Well, the Hildebrands were over, the ones that I'm familiar with lived over on 411 Highway, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah, but these were, let me read your statement real quickly right here. Okay, right here. It's a Hildebrand, Jack Hildebrand Recollections of 1908. And then on down through here, I've got it highlighted, and it says, while they were in jail, the Cherokees had called a council at Red Clay, Georgia.
Yeah, that's why it's a historical spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now listen, Debbie, when you going to do a segment on my old stomping ground up there at Consaga Lake?
Well, I don't know about Conasauga Lake, but I hear there's two old fellas over in Conasauga. I believe they're the Painter brothers, and one of them's 92, and the other one's older than that. And I just haven't chased them down yet because we're booked all the way to Christmas.
We're talking about up on Grassy now.
Well, you'll have to find me somebody that can do it. Yeah, that's the problem.
Okay.
You find me somebody that'll come do it, and we'll talk about it.
You can research that.
Okay. Thank
you.
I'm going to go. It's after 12 o'clock, Sid. Thanks for calling, buddy.
Yes.
All right, folks.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, thanks. Bye-bye. Deb, on Facebook, I won't mention the name, but a gentleman says sometime a man just has to put his foot down to get his own decorations.
I saw that life-size
And
alligator.
there's a life-size, the largest alligator ever taken in Florida is stuffed and is now in his home.
And I put down, if you might have seen my comments,
and all
I
I
said, you
can
have
say-
a very patient wife.
All I can say is yes. I mean, if you can have an alligator stuffed in your house, that's 14 foot long. That's just good stuff right there. You
can't have
you
one.
can't. Yeah,
You can't have one.
all right. Every week we say what you got to do. You've got to help save this history, and if it's just your family history, pictures of your grandfather and your grandmother, or the little store they worked at, or the people they worked with, or anything where you used to live. Be surprised what people say is, I remember that person. I remember shopping at that store. Brings back great memories. Get out your video recorders, your cell phone even now, and record your grandfather, your grandmother, your aunt, your uncles, your mom, your dad, your neighbors. Save that information. Great. Last week Claude Ogle's in here, and we told his son, you better record this gentleman, because 99 years of history that he can still remember like it was yesterday. Some of the greatest stories in the world I've heard, and I laughed about crying. You've got to do that. Everybody's got to do that, because if once they die, folks, that history dies with them, unless you wrote it down and saved it.
Next week's show, Ron, will be Fort Hill Cemetery. We're going to have somebody here talking about the
cemetery
the
tour.
Cleaning up of the cemetery, and then we're going to have somebody here talking about the cemetery tour, which is next Sunday afternoon, not tomorrow.
If you haven't done that, that is great.
Aaron, you need to bring your daughter up to Fort Hill Cemetery. You come to the Boys and Girls Club, and they put you in a little van, and they drive you to the top of the hill. And you pay $5. I think she'd probably be free. And then you have someone that escorts you around through the cemetery. And there's people. It's nothing scary about it. The people are standing there in period dress, and they tell you a historical story.
Who they were.
That's awesome.
Of who they're pretending to be. And there'll be 5 or 6 different people. It's all Confederates this time, or people that are related to the Confederacy in some way. And like I say, $5 goes to the Lee University History Department, and some of it comes back to the Historical Society. But that's not the purpose of doing it.
Right. And just don't forget, folks, everybody will remember Pearl Harbor, but
will they remember your Aunt Pearl? We'll see you next week on Old
we'll
Town
see you,
Cleveland.
folks. Bye-bye.
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Check into cash.
Turn your car into